Hey guys, I'm Dan here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia, Boku no Hero Academia 247. Speak, what are your goals? And I really like this chapter. I thought it was it was a nice kind of indication as to Endeavor's character progression a little bit and his character development, and even the three kids, the three boys, Todoroki, Shoto, Bakugo, and Deku. We got to see a little bit of what their goals are, what their intent is, and what they're hoping to gain from this internship. So I thought it was really key to understand what they want to get out of this, and it was a really good way of getting Endeavor to invest himself in these three kids. You know, what are you hoping to get out of it, and how can I help you get there? But it's also a very key concept in the sense of, you know, we know these so out of focus. We know these kids have come to this internship with some sort of idea as to where they want to go. So it was a really good way for Endeavor to, as a teacher, to understand where these kids want to get to, so that he can aid them in whatever way he can. It's a very, goal setting is incredibly important. Anyway, we start the chapter. The first thing we see is actually Fuyumi Todoroki, who I'm pretty sure, Fuyumi is Shoto's eldest, well, his only sister, I think. And I'm not sure why we see her. I thought we were going to see Rei, which is Shoto's mom, but we see Fuyumi, I think, Fuyumi, and I'm not sure why we see her like first panel, but that's what we get. Anyway, Endeavor's there looking down at the kids. He's like, "Alright, I'll train you, but you need to tell me more about yourselves." And then this is kind of, he's like, "State your current assignments, what you're hoping to get out of this internship, all that good shit." So Deku goes first. And he says that he wants to be able to control his power so he can move at max performance or perform at max performance. And here Endeavor kind of recalls, he's like, "Hey, you're the kid that had the really like self-destructive quirk, i.e. your quirk was so powerful and you gain strength so great that you would damage yourself. It was self-destructive, right?" He notifies Endeavor here. He's like, "Yeah, but I managed to find a way to control the power output so I'm not injuring myself all the damn time." But then he tries to explain, and I really love this panel here. He tries to explain the fact that he's got a secondary quirk, that he's able to manifest his power in a different way. And you see Bakugo just staring over. He's giving Deku that major side eye, and it's just so funny because he looks like the least Bakugo. It looks like the least Horikoshi drawing I've ever seen in my life. Just that on page 4 manga stream, just look at Bakugo in those top panels. He looks absolutely insane. He looks so funny, but yeah, so Endeavor's like, you gotta show me what the hell you're talking about. So Deku, with his intense concentration, lets out a little bit of the black whip, and he's like, "This is what I can release right now. If I lose concentration, it'll go berserk and it'll go ape shit. Probably not something we want to do right now." Endeavor's there just looking at it like, "The fuck is this?" And he's like, "Okay, so what exactly do you mean by your max performance? What do you want to be able to do with this newfound power?" So Deku explains that having seen it and having probably been told about it by the former users of One for All, he knows that it's a power that bends and flexes like a whip, so he wants to use it as a weapon. But he doesn't actually address the fact that he can use it for restraint here, in terms of, or restraining people. But he wants to utilize it more as a weapon. But he essentially, he's like, "I can't really control it," so he's applying the same principles that he did with Air Force, in terms of, I can control 10 to 15%, so I'll limit it, and then not casually, I'll iteratively work my way up, because of what my body can handle. So he mentions Air Force here, and that was like, the frick is Air Force, like, I don't know what the heck Air Force is. So then we have Deku going on this huge monologue tirade where he explains what Air Force is. And I can't actually find where. So Deku kind of goes into this monologue alone. I thought Endeavor might have asked him, like, "What the hell's Air Force?" But he doesn't. He just goes, "Oh, and if you're wondering what Air Force is," and then goes off into this huge monologue where essentially he says what I've said before. He explains how he can only control a certain amount of his power. He has to limit his power output. 10 to 15% is what he can use comfortably, and 20% is some like the area where his body will start to react negatively, but it's not something that will destroy him. So then he just kind of says, in the next bubble that's huge, how he needs to continuously improve in order to be able to utilize those powers. And I love the fact that Endeavor's just there like, "The freak," and then his sidekick, Burnin, I think her name was, she's like, yeah, you lost me after the first sentence. Everyone else, but Bakugo and Shoto, are just basically like, the heck, like that was huge. But I love the fact that Endeavor actually listened all the way through it. And he's like, so to summarize, you want to be able to fine tune your power output on the fly at any time. I got it. And I was like, damn, okay, you actually listened. Like, I was considering skipping that those bubbles. And to be fair, I skipped the second one a little bit because I was like, this is bullshit. We already know this. And I love the fact that Endeavor was actually listening. And then this part of the chapter, this is where at the end of each of the kids' kind of monologues, where they're explaining what their goals are and what they're hoping to achieve. Endeavor kind of in his head, he summarizes what he wants to do with them, and he looks at Deku and he's contemplating what he said, and he's like, in terms of raw power alone, this kid rivals All Might, not knowing that he has one for all. And he looks down at him like with a very, very kind of somber look, and he's like, that quirk that you've been burdened with is difficult. So you're one of us, I see. And Deku's kind of looking at him like, one of us? Like, what do you mean, like, one of us? Like, what's that supposed to mean, right? And Deku's kind of looking over at the camera. What's his name? Endeavor goes over to Bakugo and asks him, but let me just explain what I think you're one of us means. He's there talking about how Deku's power, in terms of raw physical strength, might rival All Might's. And when he says us, I think he's talking about All Might and himself, two people who were given, or who inherited very, very powerful quirks that were also that could have also been very, very damaging to themselves. All Might had to learn to obviously control one for all, but I don't think he was ever like breaking his arms and stuff like that doing it. But it was still a power that he had to learn to control because of how great it was. If he didn't want to kill someone with his punch, he had to fine tune it. So it's a very difficult quirk to have. All that super strength, essentially, he couldn't just smack someone and hope for the best. And then you have Enji over here, Endeavor, who his flames are so powerful and so great that if he used them at max output, he would most likely go into catastrophic heart failure or some shit like that. Mostly because he'd actually start to burn himself, but also because, you know, when you get hot, your blood vessels tend to dilate. Blood shunts all over the place in your body and goes to places that it shouldn't really be. If you're standing up tall, your brain loses all that blood flow, and then you go into syncope and go, and you know, you're not dead, but you're not in a good condition. So he looks at Deku and he's kind of reminded of the fact that this guy has the burden of power. And someone actually mentioned it in the manga stream comments. I've forgotten what his name is, but shout out to that guy. You know who you are. But yeah, he knows that Deku's been burdened with power, and he accepts the fact that he's one of us. He's like All Might and myself. He comes from that same. He's cut from the same cloth, essentially. So Bakugo here is like, I'm the opposite. I came here to learn what I can't do. Burnin's here just going apeshit, like laughing her ass off. I'm like, yeah, shut your mouth. I don't really give a shit about her. But Bakugo actually has a really good explanation. He's like, with his explosion quirk, he can do anything that he's ever imagined, right? He can fly, he can maneuver midair, he's a really good hand-to-hand combatant even, and he's incredibly strong. And even though he says, I only have one quirk, really, really shading freaking Deku over here, he's like, I can still be the strongest. And that's what his goal is, right? He wants to be the number one. And I loved this part here where he's like, I've learned that just because that I'm strong in a fight, it doesn't mean that I'm strong as a person. So he realizes that he has to develop as a person, and he flashes back to where he was kind of leading his team, and he was like, we're going to go 4-0 with everyone unscathed. That's the only kind of victory there is for the strongest guys out there. He's really learning to reflect on himself as a person, knowing that, and this is the part that's really cool, knowing that he himself is incredibly strong. Even as a kid, he's very, very powerful, and he's only going to get more and more powerful as he kind of continues to physically develop. But he realizes that that's not enough to become the number one hero. He needs to be a better person. And so that's what he's trying to find out. That's what he's like, what do I lack so I can surpass the number one? And you see Endeavor here looking over at Bakugo, and this is all we needed. Just that one little, like, there's only 2 words really in one panel where he's looking down at Bakugo and he's thinking, this kid. And what he's thinking is, this kid is basically a carbon copy of me, right? Physically, I'm elite, right? I'm one of the best in the world. I have a quirk that is insane, and I've built my body up to be at this level. I'm very physically sound, but as a person, I've been shit, and that's why probably he was never the number one hero. He was always, in terms of his interaction with fans and stuff like that, he didn't instill that hope in them the way All Might did, and that's something that Bakugo currently isn't able to do as well. So I think he looks at Bakugo and he sees a reflection of himself, and that's probably what he's gonna. He sees like different reflections in all of these kids of himself. In Deku, he sees the reflection of power and the burden of it. In Bakugo, he sees that reflection of personality, that reflection of having immense physical strength, but your personality is shit, your character is shit. And that's what he needs to improve on. That's what Bakugo needs to improve on. So he sees a reflection of himself almost in Bakugo. And then you see Todoroki, or Shoto, because there's two Todorokis in this panel. He's like, wait, I got something to say too. I love the fact that Endeavor just turns around like, yo, you came here to master Flash Fire. He's acting like, he knows exactly what Shoto wants, what Shoto needs. And this took a dark turn, to be fair, this part of the chapter. Shoto's talking about how, you beat the way to use my quirk into me as a kid, and I put it all into practice, but only in my right side, my icy side, which was kind of stupid because he was trying to piss off Endeavor with that, right? But then when he started attending UA and he saw Bakugo, he saw Deku, he realized that, this is the real competition. I can't just be using half of what I've been given. So he even mentions here, he's like, I've kind of played right into your hand in the sense of, you once told me that there'll be a limit that I'll reach, and then in order to get past that, I'll have to come back to you and walk the path of the mighty, which is something that Endeavor probably wouldn't say right now. But the fact that Shoto here actually addresses his father, he's like, Endeavor, he calls him by his hero name, very impersonal, and he's like, I've played into your hands, all that good shit, but he's like, but remember this, the hero I admire is the one I saw on TV together with Mom. And I think he's referring to Endeavor here in the sense of, as a hero, he admires Endeavor, but as a father, he's still very, very apprehensive about Enji. So he tells him straight, he's like, I came here of my own free will as an aspiring hero in order to become a person worthy of that title of hero. Don't treat me like your child. You don't have the right to treat me as your child here. Quit trying to act like my dad in front of my friends. I came here to use you and you're just a convenience. I was like, oh, that's harsh, man. That's really harsh. And I understand that, like, it's not something that I think negatively of Shoto for doing, because to be fair, he's setting up that premise he's setting up the boundaries straight away, right? He's like, I'm not here just because I'm your kid. I'm not here because you're my dad. I'm here to learn from you. I'm here to extract what I can from you and use you, essentially. I'm here to obtain my goals, attain my goals. And I still don't want you to, I don't have that connection with you as a dad yet, or as a child to you yet. So I like the fact that he set those boundaries straight away, but you can see in Endeavor's face, he's just like, I was hoping for, the fact that, Shoto came to me of his own free will. I thought he was going to be opening up to me a little bit, but he was obviously mistaken, and he realizes that, he still hasn't been forgiven for all the stuff that he's done. And to be fair, that's going to be a work in progress, right? As Endeavor learns to, interact with his child as the years go by, that's something that will have to be taken. That's something that will kind of fly out of, or kind of seep out of Shoto as they go on. It's not going to be something that's going to heal quickly, and I love the fact that Horikoshi actually puts that in there, saying that by the way, it's not just something we're going to gloss over. Those things still occurred. Bakugo, Deku, and even Burnin are just kind of like, ooh, this is kind of cray. Anyway, then we have Endeavor going into what makes a hero. There are three main categories of what a hero will attend to or specialize in. You have rescue ops, aiding evacuation, and fighting villains. We've known this for a while. Those are the three fundamentals, and heroes tend to specialize in this, but Endeavor's policy is to excel in all of those three fundamentals, and I thought that was pretty sick. He then kind of gives this speech of like, you have to know your jurisdiction, you have to be able to rush to the scene faster than anyone else, minimize casualties. He makes mention here by warding off civilians with heat. I love the fact that that's been mentioned, because like Endeavor essentially has been releasing a lot of heat whenever he's in fights or in battles. He's been releasing maintaining a heat output so high that civilians around him will get out of the way just because it's so hot. That's very intelligent. Anyway, Endeavor's here like, those are the basics of the basics. Always stay calm, collected, be quick on your feet. That should be the new norm for you. All that good shit. He's like, school, you learn the theory. Here you'll gain the actual physical experience. And then his task for them, his goal for them is like, he's like, you've all got your own individual goals that you want to attend to, but how are we going to measure this? What's the measurability, right? Besides Deku, for instance, being able to control his power better. One of the other measurables of this will be the fact that by the end of this winter, or their task for this winter is to subjugate a villain faster than Endeavor, even if only once. And I'm getting the feeling that they're three individual kids, right? They have their own aspirations. I think they're all going to have to, like, they're going to subjugate someone faster than Endeavor each. But that also makes me think that maybe that's a little too high a bar for them to get past so soon. So maybe as a trio, they're going to have to learn to subjugate someone faster than Endeavor. But I really liked that chapter. I thought it was a really good way to progress Endeavor's character, to flesh it out a bit more, but also the three kids in terms of what they want to do, what they're aspiring to do, and the levels they're trying to get to. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. The NFL games are now on, so I'll be watching those. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.